like time stopping, like a pause. And then it would come back again, like we'd blink out and we'd blink back. And if we didn't have any concept about time, we wouldn't really know anything had happened. We wouldn't know how long that pause would last. But people who still held old ideas about linear time or who were kind of solid in certain areas might implode or might even die or something might happen to them. And it was such an incredibly strong dream, and I was so excited in the dream that I kind of had the sense then after I woke up of this, the next day or so, this keeping on. It kept filling in, like, and it almost had the sense that the earth might, the people who blinked out and came back would come back at a higher vibration, and the ones who blinked out and maybe died would come back at the same vibration they had been in, but might be on a different planet. They would come back to an earth that was of their own vibration, and the people who blinked back at a higher vibration would come back in a different earth. So there would be a sort of bifurcation of the earth. So that's the way a lot of my information comes, is in these very odd dreams.
Have you used your intuition for, getting a better position or income or health or anything like that?
I would say I use it every day. I use it to gauge timing, to know even just when to leave the house, because I pay attention to my body signals. And if an opportunity comes and it feels free and flowing and I lean toward it, well, then I go with it. And if I feel a tenseness or a withdrawal or a contraction, then I sometimes say no, and sometimes I do it, but I'm very wary, and I watch it as I'm going along.
How do you know you're not making an emotional decision as opposed to an intuitive one?
I think that just comes with practice, George. It's that an emotional decision often is coming out of a bias that you might have of wanting something very, very badly, or not wanting to disappoint someone, or coming out of childhood programming or something like that. And you make those decisions and you find out that often they don't work, right? You get in trouble.
So true. You can't, sometimes it seems, Penny, that you can't push for things. You just got to let it happen, let it evolve.
That's right. So if there's that sort of extra, energy on something, it may not work out. When you're nonplussed and sort of neutral, and you have that truth signal that's in the body, that sense of openness and cheerfulness and sort of like expansion and childlike enthusiasm, then it's usually accurate. And I have just learned to trust that, by making mistakes, but trusting even like what to eat next. Does it feel really right, or does it make me feel a little bit heavy in just even thinking about it?
I know a person who wanted a job so badly, he went on the job interview, and then he went home after the interview and called the guy to see if he had made a decision. And then he called the next day, and he called the next day, and he never got the job. And I told the guy, I says, why'd you call? And he said, well, I wanted to know if I was going to get it. And I said, if they wanted you, they would call you. Trust me here. And so the next time he went on a job interview for a similar job, he listened to me this time. He did his interview. He was polite. He was on his game. And then he went home, and he didn't call the guy. He didn't call the guy the first day. He didn't call the guy the second day. On the third day, the guy called him and said, hey, why don't you come back for a second interview? Some of my partners want to look at you and talk with you. And, he went in and got the job. It seems like when you push, it just doesn't happen.
Well, what you're saying is a really good example of proof in some way of that we work with energy all the time. That we really are living in an energy world, and there are a lot of subtle factors that influence the way things happen. So, what your friend was doing was putting too much energy out ahead of himself. so that the other person couldn't actually come toward him.
That's true.
You know,
Some people, though, Penny, are scared of using their intuition.
Yes, and that, I think people have a sense that, well, if I'm really open, I might know something bad. I might know about a car crash or somebody's going to die or whatever. But it's like they don't really trust themselves. There's a certain idea here that the outside world is bigger than they are and separate from them and overwhelming. But, and it's sort of a process of learning how to occupy yourself fully and then trust yourself. Because all information comes to you through your own self. And if your own self is in a sort of a scared, fragile state, then you'll assume that that's the way the information is going to be that comes to you. If you're centered and warm and happy and using the information you get, then you're going to get useful information. And
you just got to recognize it.
Yes. Well, you have to also ask for information that's going to actually be helpful. I had to do this when I first started opening up, is that I don't have to know everything, especially all at once. I need to know what I need to know when I need to know it. And it's not very useful or efficient to know things too far ahead. If I need to know it ahead, then I tell myself, let me know it. And if not, it's just clutter.
You say that there are some stages of intuition development. Let's go through those.
Yes. Well, part of it is simply a learning of a certain kind of alignment, I would call it, where you bring your mind, your point of attention, inside yourself, inside your body. You get centered, literally. And so what you're doing there is you're connecting mind and body. And then, once you've done that, you breathe, you get quiet, you relax yourself, you regulate your breathing a little bit. And then you shift from, I call it from kind of a masculine mind to the feminine mind. And what I mean by that, it's not gender related, but it's more like yang and yin, where the masculine consciousness is often that kind of awareness where we're compartmentalizing and focusing and having goals and let's change this and make this happen and go, go, go. And it's the kind of consciousness we're in most of the time when we're awake. Let's go into the future, set a goal, and make it happen. But the feminine awareness is more non-goal oriented. It's sort of just being with things. There's nothing to do. Everything's fine the way it is. And so you relax, you drop in, you be with the things around you, you let things be, and you just start noticing things and including things in your awareness. So you're getting really soft in your consciousness and neutral and allowing. And then once that is achieved, then you raise your frequency or you attune yourself up like you would on a radio dial. And maybe you do that by thinking about a higher emotional state, like warm, loving your children or playing with a puppy, or maybe you think about a religious figure that you particularly love. Or maybe you just think about a scene in nature. Whatever it takes for you to raise up to feel better than you were feeling before, or happier or warmer than you were feeling before.
I also found that practicing this in your dream state before you go to bed and then you fall asleep and kind of let your dream consciousness take over has helped me a lot. Have you used that technique?
Oh, totally. That's one of the main ways that I started, and I still work that way. But and I've written 2 books on dreams. I mean, I think it's an incredibly powerful method. And, and once you learn to work with your dreams at night, then your daytime reality is really just another dream level in a way. You can interpret that too.
That's true.
But once you get yourself centered and aligned and attuned to a state, that's a state of awareness, then you can ask questions, let's say. Now, maybe attuning and getting into that state is like meditating. Sometimes when you meditate, that's what you're doing.
Slow breathing helps a lot.
Yes, and blanking out and letting your mind relax from that linear go, go, go thing. And then you can say, well, so what do I need to know about moving to a new city? Or what do I need to know about which job I should take, or that is right for me, or